Hola everyone, this is Chaz and today I'm presenting my first multi-degree commentary. Eli Riffs, aka MSkull, recently did a commentary on TOG Professor's What is a Commentary video, titled Commentators Are Not Funny, which I found it an incredibly ironic title because he didn't have to do a video on anyone else to prove his own point with his own video. Ignoring the pathetic attempt at sarcastic wit, MSkull is summarily ignoring the problems with his own statements.
Apparently there is some confusion regarding a few things that I said in my video about me no longer making commentaries. I stated that I was no longer making cutaway commentaries specifically for a reason, but this apparently annoyed people because I dare to compare commentaries to rants.
I'm more annoyed that you made one of those fake goodbye videos saying, I'm leaving commentaries except not really. You don't need a video to explain why you don't feel the need to keep using a format that you grew tired of.
And you care TOG made a fake goodbye video to his subscribers because? Oh wait, I get it. You're disappointed he's not leaving YouTube for good. I see. You wanted to rejoice, right? Because I can totally hear the disappointment in your tone.
Commentaries can be placed into 3 different categories, and to give these 3 categories, I will be using the Oxford Dictionary's definitions for commentary. The first definition clearly reads as follows: an expression of opinions or offering of explanations or explanations about an event or situation. Now, for those who might not understand this, because apparently these people do exist, this simply says to express an opinion about something.
Professor, do you know how connotations work? Connotations are how we usually associate certain words or phrases as opposed to their literal definition. If I'm clicking through the channels on my TV and saying, man, there's nothing to watch, you know that I'm not using the literal definition of nothing and saying that there's an absence of anything existing for me to watch. Or if I were to say that your video was shit, you know that I'm not saying that your video is a literal pile of excrement. In our little obscure YouTube community, the word commentator almost always refers to people who make videos in a specific style, i.e. cutaways. Now, let me make this clear because I know there are going to be people out there thinking that I said something that I didn't say. I am not saying that commentaries should only be done via cutaway. I'm saying, in the context of the commentary community, that's usually the connotation people have when they hear that someone's a commentator or that they do commentaries.
So going by the definition alone, ranters do indeed equal commentators. The issue with this particular label is that on YouTube, these 2 groups have been separated by different labels. One group is the ranting community and the other is the commentary community.
When someone says they mean a rant, you're expecting a certain video style. When someone says they're doing a commentary, you're expecting a certain video style. Connotation.
Dictionaries aren't reliable research materials anymore? Why the fuck didn't anyone tell me? I'm always the last to fucking know. By the way, bravo for using the term connotations correctly. Good to know you can also utilize the dictionary effectively when not denigrating it.
That would have made MLK Jr. a social commentator, because he was commenting on social rights.
Hey, I'm speaking out my opinion for many people to hear. You know who else speaks out his opinion for other people to hear? Oh, Jesus!
That was supposed to be funny? Did I miss something? I must have forgot to laugh or something. Or maybe I was confused because I went from watching a commentary to a mishmash of media clips. This isn't the only time this happens, folks, as it gets even more random later.
Pretty much associating Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. with the YouTube ranting and commentary communities. Now, I'm not saying that you think you're just as good as Dr. Martin Luther King. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that there's a difference between this.
I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream.
And this.
The idea that it is not okay to have a woman in a video game have large breasts, look physically attractive. A woman doesn't have to have large breasts to be physically attractive, for the record. The idea that, all these women, look unrealistic. No, all the women just look pretty.
And you know what the worst part is? Like, I'm really, really disappointed at the amount of people who actually listened to him say what he just said and sat there and went, yeah, he had a really good point, very good point indeed. Like, what the hell is wrong with you people? I guarantee you, if this was someone different, if this was someone that, generally speaking, the commentary community didn't like, and they said something to that extent, you'd all would try to be first in line to try to commentate on that video. But oh no, this is TOG Professor. This is a commentator that people like. So it's okay.
Good point there. Had someone other than TOG made that statement, I'm sure there would have been some moron jumping all over such a minuscule point and beating it to death because they're frantically jonesing to discover any little fault with them. Right, M-Skull? Actually, TOG was only incorrect in implying that Martin Luther King Jr. making impassioned speeches defined him as a social commentator. You are incorrect in your statement that Martin Luther King Jr. wasn't a social commentator. Did you forget the Reverend part of his title? The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.? Did you forget that preachers, pastors, reverends, priests, etc., constantly make sermons typically consisting of commentaries on current events and social issues to their congregation? Perhaps you weren't aware he earned a bachelor's degree in sociology in addition to his theological studies, or that King had numerous other works aside from the I Have a Dream speech. He was a published author, Stride Toward Freedom, The Montgomery Story, published 1958. The Measure of a Man, published 1959. Strength to Love, published 1963. Why We Can't Wait, published 1964. By the way, did you know that he wasn't solely focused on civil rights? That he expanded his focus to poverty and the Vietnam War? Definitely defines the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. as a social commentator, and basically supports TOG's point that commentary is a very broad term.
By the way, the Attack on Tryhard Twitter page is fucking amazing. I didn't even know it existed until Honest Reviews told me about it the other day, and I'm glad to know it exists. It is fantastic to know that there is a group of people so dedicated to proving how stupid and pathetic the commentary community is, that they apparently spend every last waking moment of their free and posting about it on Twitter, on what is going on in the commentary community.
So let me get this straight. When you make a video making fun of someone, it's just, something I do in my spare time, But when someone makes tweets about the commentary community, oh my god, they're spending so much time on things that they hate.
Passing curiosity here, how many tweets are being made on this account on a daily basis? Could that be why TOG made his claim these folks are obsessed with closely scrutinizing the commentary community? I'm not a Twitter user, nor am I inclined to find out how obsessed these folks are, but I'm not the one having an issue with this here. I really don't give a shit. However, it obviously bugs you. So if you're implying that TOG is being hypocritical because he spends some of his time making commentaries mocking other shitty commentators, it raises the question of, is he spending the same amount of time on his commentaries as those running this Twitter feed? Even if that's not your issue, and it's solely because you feel that TOG is fixated on Attack on Tryhard, you're overlooking the fact, golly, there's that word again, their sole purpose is to mock the commentary community, going so far as to create a specific Twitter feed. Sure looks like fixation on Attack on Tryhard's part, don't it? In this particular instance, TOG clearly singled Attack on Tryhard out because they would have been the first to start jumping around like a sugar-crazed toddler with matches over anything he says or does. You're obsessed with connotation, M-Skull, but are forgetting the importance of context.
Because I understand that regardless of if I am ranting, reviewing, or making, quote, commentaries, unquote, I am in essence commentating. This is a very simple concept, and if you can't see it or understand it, then I feel sorry for you. While I apologize for daring to step on your tender little feelings and insulting what made you feel comfortable and allowed you to sleep well at night, no. Because if you are this stupid, then that is your own fault and not mine.
Now, is it just me, or does it feel like TOG is taking this a bit more personally than the people that he claims are getting offended?
It's you, really. He's taking it no more seriously than you, M-Skull.
I don't recall anyone, especially Attack on Tryhard, getting as angry and offended as TOG is making him out to be. If anything, the only thing that got me offended about this whole ordeal was the fact that he associated MLK with the commentary community.
FYI, when presenting your side in a debate or argument, it's usually a good idea to use examples that have the widest familiarity with your audience as possible, depending on who they are. It's called knowing your audience. It's safe to assume that everyone knows who King is, so it makes sense that TOG used him. Was it the best example? Probably not. It was a very loose association, but still an appropriate one because King certainly is the best known social commentator, as many folks wouldn't think of John Lennon as a social commentator, even though he was. Random side note here. I believe John Lennon would have been utilizing YouTube and posting his own videos if he were alive today, since he was famously known for using the media to further his causes. So in that regard, it's safe to assume that it's a distinct possibility that had Dr. King survived and lived today, he might have been utilizing YouTube in some form as well.
Okay, here's the thing. The beginning of the video, you said that this was a fact.
What I am about to say is fact, for the sole reason that I can back my claims and statements with verifiable evidence.
But now you're telling us that, whoa, it doesn't mean you can't argue it, but you can't argue facts, because they're facts. What are you going to argue? That it isn't a fact? Well, if it's not a fact, then you can argue it, but if it was a fact, then you cannot argue a fact, because a fact is a fact, and you can't say a fact isn't a fact when it is a fact, so there'll be nothing to argue, and that's a fact. Did you get all that?
Nice attempt at lingual gymnastics, but I call fail. You can argue facts, M-Skull. Facts can be disproved. Like the widely accepted fact the world was flat. And the medical fact that bloodletting was an effective form of treatment for many ailments. Ooh, creationism was a fact until science managed to disprove it. It was also a fact that Pluto was the 9th major planet of our solar system. That particular fact is still being debated. Let's not forget my all-time favorite fact, that AIDS was a gay disease originally called GRID, which stood for Gay-Related Immune Deficiency. It was changed to AIDS because it was proved that the disease wasn't restricted to homosexuals, and the Center for Disease Control had to be pressured to change that fact.
Though I am sure a certain Twitter feed will be blowing up right now, and if so, then have fun with it. If that is what you find entertaining, then cool. It is really no skin off of my back whatsoever. I am no longer part of the, quote, commentary community, unquote, but feel free to use me as your poster child of stupidity, if you must, and if that makes you feel better and lets you sleep at night, because I don't really care.
Blow it out your ass! Blow it out your ass! Blow it out your ass! Blow it out your ass!
Don't give us that shit. You were calling out just one particular person for half the video and you're going to cover it up with, oh, but I don't care. Yeah, you do. You wouldn't be making this video if you didn't care. Well, Professor, I think your ego's starting to get to your head. Well, I think we all should have known that the moment you started calling yourself Professor. To be completely honest, had it been just you saying, oh, rants and commentaries are the same thing, over time I might have been gone, well, he maybe have had a point. Yeah, okay, I can see where he's coming from. But then you made this video, and it was just asinine. You build your argument on top of argumentum ad dictionarium. You don't know how connotations work. You're clearly upset at one person, even though you're referring to other people getting angry about this. And to top it off, you had the gall to bring MLK into this. Really, how does he get away with this? How is it okay for him to say this stuff? Oh, wait. Because it's a commentary community. Well, I guess we all learned a valuable lesson today. If people like your commentary, you can get away with murder! Bye!
Although you made a couple good points, I think no matter what, you would have found fault with this video regardless, because you've nitpicked to death the most inane details. Let me clue you in. The horse is dead. It has done become dust and has blown to the wind. There's nothing left to beat. To make you feel like the badass commentator you're pathetically striving to be, I shall share some of my observations of your work. First off, it's pointless and stupid to apologize for poor mic quality in your video description. We can tell it's crap and a better mic isn't going to make this commentary less shitty. Secondly, your title is misleading. You should have called this Calling Out TOG Professor for His Bullshit, because you never mentioned once about TOG's commentary being unfunny. Unless you were referring to your own commentary, which would still be a misleading title despite it's a statement of fact. There's that word again. Which leads me to my next point. Media clips, really? And unrelated ones that don't do much to support your claims or emphasize your points. Media clips are pointless filler. Stick to the facts you're harping on so much. The only media clips you should be using aside from your avatar is the video you're commentating on. Ad dictionarium? Seriously? You're going to make up words to support your weak points? It's obvious you've got a vendetta against certain commentators and anyone associated with them. You certainly got the Vulture Act down pat. I can't wait to see what poor soul you'll crucify next for the slightest misstep. This time you felt confident enough to go after the big dog on his way out, but I'm sure you'll go back to trying to maul the up-and-coming newbies in order to eliminate the competition. Hate to break it to you, but they'll still be far better than you. My friends, Eli Riffs proves that YouTube is an open, wonderful place where you are more than welcome to share your opinion, so long as it doesn't go against his and the perceived majorities. If it does, you're royally fucked. Alright everyone, this is Chaz Agus signing out. Thank you for spending time with me. Adios!